Deep in rural Japan are unique places where wildlife and people live together as one. Hidden enclaves where ancient traditions rule a way of life, and people and nature rely on each other, far from the chaos of the modern world. Photographer Mitsuhiko Imamori is on a journey to discover a secret side of Japan and find the Satayama, havens of harmony. Japan is one of the most densely populated countries in the world. Finding an untouched wilderness here is almost impossible. But look closely, and there are unique oases where nature flourishes. Places where wildlife and people coexist, and even depend on each other for their survival. These places are called the Satayama. Photographer Mitsuhiko Imamori is on a quest to discover these forgotten enclaves where people live in harmony with nature. Mitsuhiko wants to find these places where life is linked to the seasons and where ancient traditions still hold sway. Early spring in the Hakuba Mountains near Nagano in north-central Japan. Life slowly returns to the land after the bitterly cold winter months. Aoni is a small village nestled among the Japanese Alps. It's an area of terraced fields and mountain ridges where the villagers have learnt how to make their farmland fertile by harnessing nature. These terraces have been painstakingly built and maintained over many generations so people can grow their staple crop, rice. Mitsuhiko's journey starts here. He wants to explore a unique ecosystem which has evolved as a result of age-old farming techniques. He's visited Aoni before, so it's also a chance to catch up with some old friends. Hiroshi Matsukura has farmed here for over 60 years, and he knows the area as well as anyone. Mr. Matsukura wants to show Mitsuhiko what makes their rice fields so special. It's a steep climb up the mountain paths behind the village. This is what they've come to see. At first, it just looks like a freshly dug ditch. But it's much more. It's a lifeline, the secret behind the village's success as rice farmers and much of the region's spectacular wildlife. Growing rice requires plenty of water, a sparse resource here. Around 150 years ago, the villagers dug a long trench from high up in the Alps down to their fields. It taps into a priceless resource, the mountain's snowmelt. Carving the 3-kilometre canal into the mountainside with only simple hand tools was a mammoth task. It took 4 years to complete. And it can be a dangerous path to walk along. Parts of the canal are crumbling. A fall from here would most likely be fatal. The canal still supplies water to the rice fields, but it needs constant upkeep to keep it working. Every spring, the villagers head up into the mountains to carry out repairs. Debris is removed, cracks filled with concrete. It is back-breaking work. Eventually, the canal is fully functional, and the rice fields ready to be flooded. Once again, snowmelt has a free passage to flow down. The villagers carefully chart the water's progress. Leaves and dirt are removed to avoid any blockages. Once again, the villagers of Auni are ready for the rice planting season. Irrigating the land doesn't just help the villagers' rice crop, it heralds the arrival of a wealth of wildlife. An hour later, water gushes into the first field. Fresh water and spring sunshine breathe life into the whole area. Japanese dogtooth violets push their way through the leaf litter. The impact of the rice paddies on the flora and fauna becomes clearer every day. Wildflowers crowd the ridges between the fields. Insects arrive in droves, enticed by the sweet perfume of nectar. Dragonflies lay eggs on the grass near the freshly flooded fields. When they hatch, their larvae will drop into the water to begin the next stage of life. Frogs wake from their winter slumber and make the rice paddies their home. A Gifu butterfly, one of the first butterflies of the year to hatch, emerges from its pupa. Clinging precariously to a reed, it waits for fluid to fill its wings before taking to the air for the very first time. Flowering plants are rare this early in the year, so the dogtooth violets are a favourite target for the Gifu butterflies. Their lifespan only lasts a few weeks, until early summer, so they have their work cut out collecting enough nectar to lay the foundations for the next generation. While nature comes alive, Auni farmers are busy planting their rice. The villagers still maintain a traditional way of life, stretching back many generations, one that continues to create havens for wildlife to flourish. By the end of May, summer makes its mark right across the country. In the Kitakami Highlands, in the north of Japan's main island, Honshu, the town of Iwazumi lies in the steep valley. There's precious little grazing for livestock. So the time has come to take the cattle on an annual trip to the rich mountain meadows high above. Herds are loaded onto trucks for the winding journey to pastures near the top of the 1,000-meter peaks. Tentative at first, the new arrivals soon make themselves right at home. The land is dotted with lush grassland, perfect for grazing. From late spring until autumn, the herds are free to roam at will. For over 100 years, Japanese shorthorn cattle like these have been bred to survive the cold and harsh conditions of mountain life. For young calves, being out in the open for the first time is an exhilarating and sometimes nervous experience. By the end of June, the mountains are alive with fresh green shoots. Mitsuhiko has come to see the impact of the grazing animals on the highland woodlands. His guide is cattle farmer Kinjuro Furudate. Kinjuro's herd is one of those grazing on the rich grasses growing among the beech trees. Everywhere they go, cows and calves are happily feeding and enjoying the welcome shade of the trees. A wealth of food and ready supply of fresh water make this a perfect environment for the cattle. This forest is exceptional. Many forests are dense and overgrown, but here there are very few bushes. Most are eaten by the cattle, creating vast tracts of open land. Kinjuro shows Mitsuhiko what the woodland would look like without its bovine visitors. One patch of forest is overgrown with bamboo thicket. Where the cattle don't go, the undergrowth takes over. These beautiful open woodlands are a direct result of the summer visits from hungry livestock. The constantly chewing cows revitalize forests which would otherwise be impenetrable. There are now widespread attempts to introduce grazers to other overgrown woodlands to keep them in shape. Where cattle have grazed for generations, the woodlands are healthy, and they entice a host of wildlife. Flowers thrive in the dappled light of the open canopy. Stunning orchids known as keyflowers dot the meadows. The tiny flowers of the bluntleaf sandwort blossom in the summer sun. The rich pastures are home to over 200 types of flowering plants. And where there are plenty of flowers, there are plenty of insects. Easy pickings for a Eurasian jay, one of many species of bird to grow fat on the forest bugs. A Japanese green woodpecker chick chirps hungrily from the safety of its nest. Thanks to the glut of grubs, its mother has no shortage of treats to feed the impatient youngster. Feeding a hungry chick is a full-time job. Its constant cries for more food echo through the trees. It's not just insects and birds that thrive in these woodlands. A secretive Japanese badger cautiously emerges from the shadows. Usually nocturnal, at this time of year the badgers are lured out in daylight by the warmth of the sun and the promise of food. This thriving microcosm has evolved as a direct result of local grazing traditions. The cows suppress the undergrowth, but enough seedlings still germinate and grow into healthy saplings to replenish the woodland. The result is a rich, vibrant community of plants and animals of all shapes and sizes. Back at the Auni rice fields, summer has arrived. The still water surfaces have become vivid green carpets of healthy rice plants. For farmer Hiroshi Matsukura, it's time for another important job in the calendar. He's looking for one specific tree, an Amur cork tree. Skillfully cutting into the trunk, he carefully peels back the bark like the skin from an orange. The yellow wood is sometimes used as a dye. But the cork tree's real value lies in its healing properties. Once dried, the bark is used as a treatment for upset stomachs. The cork tree can only be harvested at the tail end of the rainy season, when it's absorbed enough water to let the bark slide off easily. The villagers of Auni still follow many ancient traditions. Mr. Matsukura remembers his parents used cork bark in a remedy for stomach sickness. It's been used for hundreds of years. The natural world is priceless to these villagers. They cherish and nurture their surroundings. But nature hasn't been so closely guarded everywhere. 50 years ago, oriental storks were a common sight around Toyooka in the southwestern part of Japan's main island, Honshu. Then they became extinct across Japan. The last stork died here in 1971. Aggressive industrialization and modern farming methods had destroyed their breeding and feeding grounds. The rice paddies had become polluted with pesticides. To bring the landscape back to life, the people of Toyooka turned the clock back and reinstated age-old irrigation systems. Rice fields were flooded with fresh river water, and the use of pesticides was reduced. More than 3 decades since their extinction, a clutch of captive reared storks were released back into the wild. Since 2007, oriental storks have begun to breed again in Toyooka. Mitsuhiko wants to see how reinstating traditional farming techniques can not only bring a species back from extinction, it can reawaken a whole ecosystem. He's excited to see how dramatic the transformation has been. The storks have made this patchwork of paddy fields in the heart of the villages and farming communities their home. For Mitsuhiko, it's like a trip back in time. The dank smell of fertile soils reminds him of his childhood. Once he played in streams and rice fields just like this one. And he's happy to see the water is muddy. It's a sign it's healthy and alive with killifish. But it's not just the irrigation channels that are teeming with life. Mitsuhiko scours the banks for frogs, toads and locusts. Just some of the many species that have returned, like the storks. Reinstating irrigation channels linking the river to the fields was instrumental in returning life to the rice paddies as it enabled fish to enter. Reducing the use of pesticides has allowed a myriad of tiny creatures to colonize the flooded land. Swarms of microscopic Daphnia sustain the larvae of ravenous autumn darter dragonflies. Small fish fill up on the tiny crustaceans too. The rice fields of Toyooka now swarm with life. Over 30 storks have taken up residence. Everywhere they tread, there seems to be an abundance of food to feed their hungry chicks. Until recently, farmers would have drained these fields at the end of June. But now they wait until early July to allow time for tadpoles to turn into frogs and help ensure the survival of the next generation of amphibians, a valuable food source for the storks. At night, an extraordinary spectacle takes place in the rice fields. Autumn darter dragonfly larvae climb the rice stalks. They're ready to hatch. Their numbers have drastically increased since the change in farming practices. The newly hatched darter lets body fluids flood its wings as it transforms from infant into a fully fledged adult. It's just one of several thousand dragonflies that have hatched in a single night. As the sun rises, swarms of dragonflies wait for their wings to dry before taking to the morning air. With their efforts to create an environment in which oriental storks can breed again, the people of Toyooka have restored a rich ecosystem where wildlife can thrive alongside its human neighbors.
看清世界，欣赏真实。北京电视台纪实高清频道。
As summer rolls on, the people of Kamitown, 20 kilometers from the rice paddies of Toyooka, prepare for the Obon Festival, the day to honor the dead. Relatives return to the town to visit family graves and offer bouquets of wild flowers in remembrance of loved ones. But these flowers aren't just any flowers. They've been carefully nurtured by local farmers. Just before Obon, the banks between the paddies are mowed. Hard work in the midsummer heat. It's important the rice fields look neat and tidy ahead of the festival, when the spirits of ancestors are thought to return. The festival traditions have unwittingly created wildlife havens of their own. While mowing, farmers deliberately leave some stands of plants untouched. Wildflowers that blossom just in time for Aubonne, when they're gathered as offerings at the graves. Following ancient traditions, Tadashi Fujiwara's family has gathered wildflowers from the fields to make sprays of bonflowers for many years. It's an important custom that the flowers offered are gathered from the wild. Field edges, banks and mountain paths are lined with colourful flora, also sustaining a rich food chain for wildlife, year after year. In the north-central part of Japan's Honshu Island, autumn is the season for another festival steeped in tradition. The Owara Katsei no Bon, the Wind Dance Festival. Rough storms regularly batter the land here, and the festival symbolizes people's hope to calm the relentless wind. The landscape too reflects the desire to conquer the wind. Thousands of small woodlands called kainyo dot the Tanami Plains. These are windbreaks to protect people, crops and houses from the strong southwesterlies. Tall evergreen Japanese cedars and cypresses have been planted as a natural defense from the stormy gusts. This house has belonged to a local farming family for 10 generations. Almost as old as the family's history are the 100-year-old cedar and zelkova trees surrounding their home. These kainyo woodlands are still carefully managed to keep them healthy and strong. The keeper of this woodland is Toshiko Nei. At this time of year, her daily chores include sweeping up fallen leaves. Before the days of electricity and gas, cedar leaves were a precious source of fuel. Toshiko still burns the leaves and uses their ashes as a fertilizer for her vegetables. Having lived with the kainyo all her life, she knows just how valuable this compost is and tries not to waste any of it. Mitsuhiko has come here to meet Toshiko and learn more about the small forest ecosystem growing in her backyard. He's keen to see Toshiko's garden, and although she thinks there's little to see, Mitsuhiko can't believe his eyes. This giant zelkova tree has reached a height of over 20 meters. It must be well over 100 years old. Duly impressed by the towering zelkova, yet another surprise is in store. Mitsuhiko finds a Japanese pepper tree, the leaves and fruit of which are used as a cooking spice. Toshiko and her family brought the tree back from the mountains and planted it in her garden. Its strong smell is unmistakable. Nearby, a sweet persimmon tree weighed down with tangy fruits. At first glance, the woodland may seem dominated by cedar and cypress trees, but it is home to an overwhelming number of fruit and herb trees, like the sweet persimmon and Japanese gold thread. Gold thread is still used as a traditional remedy to treat stomach upsets. Even today, villagers make trips to the mountains to collect it. Plantain lilies also grow here. Their tender leaves are edible, like the stems of the Japanese spikenard and the leaves of fuki or giant butterbur. The first trees in this woodland would have been planted hundreds of years ago as a windbreak, but gradually the kainyo's owners have added to it, transforming the kainyo into a spectacular arboretum. The yuzu citrus tree is weighed down with fruit. So too are chestnuts, pear, plum and apricot trees. In the past, the fruit harvest may have helped supplement the householder's income. The persimmon fruit attracts many visitors. Like dusky thrushes and white-cheeked starlings. As winter draws near, insects are harder to find. The juicy fruits are a welcome substitute. After sunset, there are even more unexpected visitors. A hungry raccoon dog joins the feast. As a result of overhunting, habitat loss, and competition with human pets and livestock, these shy animals are now a rare sight. But the small woodlands dotted across the Tanami Plains offer safe havens for these timid animals, deep in the heart of human communities. Further north, on Japan's western coastline, sits Mount Chokai. Rising from the Sea of Japan to over 2,000 meters. During the autumn, it is ablaze with color. But halfway up the mountain, strangely shaped trees jut out from the canopy. "20 kilometers from the ocean, a beech forest covers this side of Mount Chokai. Guided by Manzo Saito, a local who knows this area inside out, Mitsuhiko has come here to understand what makes this forest so special. They soon stumble across giant beeches. Mitsuhiko is intrigued by the tree's strange, twisted trunks. 2 or 3 meters above the forest floor, each tree parts into several offshoots, growing in different directions. The tree's local name, agariko, refers to the trees looking as if their children are born high above the ground. Each of these beech trees has developed its own unique shape. Some are so huge and their trunks so twisted it amazes Mitsuhiko that they can still stand. Others even appear to defy the laws of gravity. Their bizarre shapes are anything but natural. They're entirely man-made. Until the late 19th century, this was an important charcoal-producing region. Trees were chopped in winter when there was a lot of snow. Heavy wood could be transported with relative ease using a sledge, but as snow could reach up as high as 3 meters, this is where the trees were cut. Come springtime, fresh buds would sprout from the cuts, creating offshoots. Over many years of chopping and regrowth, the trees became gnarled and twisted with multiple offshoots, creating today's strange shapes. Each tree was cut every 20 or 40 years, and some stems were always left untouched to avoid damaging the tree too much. Since World War II, charcoal has declined in importance, and the trees are no longer felled. Just a few kilns are left as a reminder of the days of the charcoal industry. But the agariko beech forest still bears gifts for the locals. Manzo finds a clutch of mushrooms, easy to miss to the untrained eye, as they're a similar colour to the beech tree trunks. Appearances can be deceptive. Although the mushrooms may look unappetizing, Manzo assures Mitsuhiko that they taste good. Throughout autumn, right up to the first snow of winter, it's mushroom season on Mount Chokai, when this man-managed beech forest continues to provide a valuable harvest for local people. Back in the Kitakami Highlands, it is now late autumn. Here too the leaves change to vivid reds and yellows. Up in the highlands, cattle are still grazing on the lush meadows. Calves born in the spring have grown strong on the succulent grasses and their mother's milk. But by mid-October, nighttime temperatures plunge below zero. It's time for the cattle to return to the valley. People prepare for the long, hard winter ahead. They even mow the impossibly steep slopes behind the village. These grasses have to be painstakingly cut by hand, but they provide valuable winter fodder for the cattle, so the effort is worthwhile. Silver grasses and kudzu leaves grow on the slopes, both a favourite with the cows. The cut grasses are bound and tied to stop them rolling down the hillside. Then they're left out to dry. This used to be a typical scene, but today, the enormous effort involved makes it a rare sight. Cattle are herded down from the mountain meadows to return to the barns for the winter. Until next springtime. The time comes to gather the dried hay. To make life a little easier, it's rolled down the steep slope so it can be collected below. Here in the Kitakami Highlands, people still live in close harmony with the natural world. They take what they need from nature and repay it by managing their surroundings in a way which encourages plants and animals to thrive. In the Hakuba Mountains, it is time for the annual rice harvest. Just a trickle of water now runs down the Auni Canal, compared to the gushing meltwater in spring. But insects still swarm above the rice paddies. Autumn darters dive down to lay their eggs in the few remaining puddles. The eggs will stay buried throughout the frosty months ahead. The chill of winter arrives. Life will lie dormant under the blanket of snow, until the first rays of spring sunshine signal a new year and a new cycle of life in Auni. For Mitsuhiko Imamori, this has been a journey of discovery through rural Japan. It's revealed an astonishing diversity of places and communities that have found ways of living in harmony with nature. Places where both people and wildlife gain from a complex relationship of interdependency. The view that nature has been hopelessly destroyed in Japan is widespread. Yet there are glimmers of hope, places where nature meets people and wildlife thrives alongside humans. These places are the Satayama of Japan.